When Isambard Kingdom Brunel built the Great Western Railway from London to Bristol in 1835, a distance of 112 miles, could he have imagined that trains in the 21st century would travel over the original route at speeds in excess of 100 miles an hour? He was a visionary. He made the route straight, without sharp bends or steep gradients, even when it snakes its way through the natural barrier of the Chilterns and Berkshire Downs by following the river at Goring. At Maidenhead, he constructed 2 single-span brick bridges, each 128 feet wide, over the Thames, which everyone said would collapse as soon as a train passed over. Albeit much widened, they are still serving high-speed trains bound for Bristol and holding the record for being the longest single-span brick bridges in the world. Whilst working for his father constructing the Thames Tunnel as engineer in charge, it flooded in 1828, bringing Brunel close to death. He convalesced at Clifton, a fashionable suburb of Bristol, where he took part in a competition to design a bridge that spanned the spectacular gorge over the River Avon, which he eventually won. From this association came the chance to build the Great Western Railway and later steamships. Brunel was appointed as engineer for the Great Western Railway in March 1833, and despite 4 feet 8.5 inches, known as standard gauge, already in use elsewhere, subjected to intense opposition, he recommended a gauge of 7 feet and a quarter inch between rails, branded as broad gauge, supporting at an early stage the idea of a high-speed railway with gentle curves and gradients. After Brunel's death, standard gauge eventually won the battle, and it is believed that had we kept to broad gauge, many problems related to overcrowding of trains today would have been resolved. Replica engines and a section of a broad gauge and mixed gauge track can be seen at the Didcot Railway Museum. Occasionally they run one of the broad gauge engines, but not when I visited, so I contented myself with a ride on a standard gauge train. After trying unsuccessfully to share Euston Station with the London and Birmingham Railway, Brunel eventually chose Paddington for his grand entry into London, which in 1851 was only a village. As a terminus for the Great Western Railway, Brunel did not pull any punches. Situated in a cutting, attention was paid to the train shed's roof, which is modelled on Joseph Paxton's Crystal Palace for the Great Exhibition. Today's Paddington Station, enlarged since Brunel's time, is a glorious example of Victorian architecture, lovingly restored in recent years and worth a longer look. The Elizabeth Line now provides improved access to Oxford Street and the City, as well as Liverpool Street Station and Canary Wharf. The Great Western Railway was constructed manually by thousands of navvies, and the first section to operate scheduled services from Paddington went to Maidenhead. Despite Brunel's successful engineering feats by bridging the Brent Valley and River Thames, his engines weren't always sufficiently powerful. After crossing the railway bridge at Maidenhead, alight at the station and visit what is today an important engineering feat not matched elsewhere. 2 brick bridges spanning 128 feet across the River Thames. Pause for a moment underneath the bridge known as the Sounding Arch and try the echo. You have to stand in the right place, but it provides some amusement for a few minutes. I was informed that by shouting, "Hello," returned the best echo, duly executed at the risk of greeting a passing sailor. "Hello. Hello. Hello." It is believed that for the intensely atmospheric painting Rain, Steam and Speed, Turner used the Maidenhead Bridge as its inspiration.
Is that check?
After Reading, the route follows the River Thames and passes through a natural gap between the Chiltern Hills and Berkshire Downs for Swindon. Wealthy landowners had mixed feelings about a new railway passing close to their properties, which in some cases were opposed. James Morrison, who owned Basildon Park at Pangbourne, planted trees to screen the eastern boundary of the park from the Great Western Railway as it passed between his estate and the Thames, and whilst its construction caused him aggravation, the benefits of being able to travel at 50 miles per hour into Paddington did not go unnoticed. Swindon was a small market town in the 1850s, but by the 20th century it had become a great railway town. Brunel chose Swindon as a prime location for Great Western Railway's engine and rail works because of its central geographical position. 300 new cottages housed the workforce. The main shed, nearly 500 feet long, and many other buildings were constructed on green fields to the north of the town at the junction of the branch line to Cheltenham from the main line to Bristol, some distance from the old town of Swindon. Many locomotives were built, but with the decline of steam power and diesel construction, it closed in 1986, but many of the original buildings have been converted to serve other uses. Today, it is home for a shopping centre, the National Trust and English Heritage and Steam Museum of the Great Western Railway, charting the history of the railway. The greatest obstacle for Brunel and the Great Western Railway were the Cotswolds at Box Hill in Wiltshire, forming a natural barrier between Chippenham and Bath. There was no way around them. The only answer? A tunnel. 1 3/4 miles long, it required up to 4,000 navvies to build, 300 horses, cost over 100 lives, and took 2.5 years to complete. It is arguably the pinnacle of Great Western Railway's engineering feats, but the working conditions were very harsh. Ventilation was terrible, illumination was by candlelight, and gunpowder was used to blast through limestone with risky consequences. Upon completion, passengers were afraid to use the tunnel, fearing they could not breathe, which stagecoach operators seized upon by offering coach travel between Chippenham and Bath. Approaching Bath, further earthworks on a massive scale were necessary at Bathwick. The railway follows a similar route to the Kennet and Avon Canal, and as it passes through Sidney Gardens in a cutting, it became necessary to construct a massive retaining wall to support the canal, because the railway enters the city at a lower level than the canal before crossing the River Avon twice on embankments. Bristol at last is reached. Temple Meads was chosen for the terminus of the Great Western Railway, but like Paddington, it is outside the city centre. Built to impress, its design is a mix of styles including Gothic and Tudor. The station shed, having a span of 72 feet, has a false hammer beam roof made from timber. The station has grown to accommodate an increase in traffic, but the original part of the station built by Brunel still exists, no longer handling trains. The first through trains from Paddington took about 4 hours to travel 112 miles. Today's hybrid, high-speed electric and diesel trains have reduced that time to just over 90 minutes. Brunel's Great Western Railway vision extended into Devon, Cornwall and South Wales. He created some of the finest steamships linking continents, including SS Great Britain, now berthed in the dock where she was built. Furthermore, what started as a competition, Brunel tragically died before its completion. The Clifton Suspension Bridge.